Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined by my fellow.
Take two.
Welcome back, guys, to the podcast. Welcome back to another episode. Should be a good one. This one's going to be recapping WrestleMania. Should be a really awesome one. I'm joined by Marnus, Saudiq, and Brandon Van Reenen. I'm looking forward to it. So let's get started.
Okay, cool. So we will sort of like just go night by night. We'll start with night one, which I don't know about you guys. I actually felt it was the better night. I don't know what you guys think. Like, I honestly felt the match quality and everything about it was just better.
Honest?
Yeah, I'll honestly say I enjoyed night one a bit more than night two. I think night one had a bit more exciting matches, especially looking at the ladder match. But I think we all knew that the ladder match would be one of the top matches of the night. You had guys like Morrison, Jimmy Uso, and Kofi Kingston. They did some stuff that you've never seen before in a ladder match. So it just goes to show how innovative the guys still can be till this day, which was very awesome. The highlight for me obviously was the Boneyard match. We all didn't know what to expect from it, but it came out very great. I think the whole cinematic feel that they gave to the match was awesome. Making Undertaker look like the American Badass again was a great decision because of the type of environment and setting that they had. And then just overall the storytelling of the match was amazing. Other than that, I thought night one was a great night.
Okay, cool. Let's just jump straight into it. We'll start with night one. And we're not going to discuss every match, but we'll discuss the key points out of the main matches, as it were. I think we'll start with the decision to give Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross the Women's Tag Team Championships. I think I'll ask Stu his opinion on this. Was that the right move, or what do you think at least?
Yes, absolutely. So this is obviously, I don't think a lot of people remember, but this is their second run with the titles. The first run wasn't necessarily that memorable either. It still wasn't used absolutely correctly, but I do believe Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross actually brings more relevancy to the titles than the Kabuki Warriors ever did their entire run. Because I mean, how many title defenses did the Kabuki Warriors actually end up having? It's honestly, you can probably count it on one hand as it is, and none of them were memorable at all. So yeah, absolutely the correct decision.
Mm-hmm. There was one of two women's matches on night one, and I think the biggest talking point out of night one was actually the decision to keep the Raw Women's Championship on Becky Lynch. I don't know what to say, guys. I don't know what to say at all. Like, I've got no words. Saudiq, what do you think?
Like I said earlier, when we were just like before we started recording, Shayna Baszler got Samoa Joe hard. Just that whole making the superstar look stupid. I mean, the booking to have for Shayna Baszler to lose, it made no sense after that destruction of a elimination chamber that she was on. Now she lost now to Becky. Now who's gonna take her on now? There's like no one else in that division unless Asuka goes for it again. Since Kairi Sane's contract is gonna be up, and then the rumors has it he's gonna go back to Japan and everything. So unless they want to keep it on Becky for Ronda Rousey if she comes back at SummerSlam, I mean that's gonna be a big match. But other than that, they should have pulled the plug on Shayna. Even after all that booking, it just made sense for her to. And Becky, she got stale in the first few months of having that title. So yeah, I'm over Becky now. It was time for Shayna.
Marnus, what do you think?
Look, I understand the decision, sort of, because I think they want the feud to continue between Becky and Shayna. We already got a little bit of a tease of that on this episode of Raw. I don't know. Becky had a good run, but like everyone says, she did get a bit stale after the time, and she got a bit boring, a bit bland. But it was completely the wrong decision to keep the title on her, especially after the run that Shayna has had so far. But I don't know. Maybe when they continue the feud, that Shayna will eventually beat Becky. Otherwise, if Ronda Rousey decides to come back or whatever the case may be, but yeah, it was completely the wrong booking.
I think I'll echo what Saudiq said about how Shayna Baszler came in hot. She won the Elimination Chamber. She made a statement on Raw. Everything was sort of suggesting, and I don't get me wrong, I think you guys will all agree that unpredictable booking is nice, and I don't think we could have predicted that Becky would have obtained the title. But I feel like Shayna Baszler, I feel like it shouldn't be continuing the story, and I feel like a lot of damage was done just by that one booking decision. Like, I feel like, should we care about Baszler going back? She looks incredibly weak now. I don't know what you guys think. She looks really weak. Making all those threats and beating all the superstars, and in a really weak match. I think it was the weakest match on night one. I would almost go as far as saying that Elias and King Corbin wasn't an amazing match either, but I didn't have the same sort of like sentiment towards Becky and Shayna. What do you think, Stu? What's your sort of feedback on the match?
No, I'm absolutely. I'm actually jumping off of exactly what you said. That's my exact mindset. Is that Shayna went into the match looking so damn strong, and that match had huge potential. But now with Becky winning, especially the way she did, why should we even care about the match coming up? It's just I'm not feeling it. There's no reason to follow the story moving forward.
Okay, one match that actually had a weird sort of timeline for WrestleMania was the Universal Championship match, where on SmackDown last week they didn't even give us a proper angle to sort of explain why Braun Strowman is now the challenger and now the champion. I felt like it was a really weak match. I know we can't do a lot with Goldberg, but I think it could have been more. I don't know, what if you were booking the match, Marnus, then what would you do? If that was you doing that match, would you do anything different, or would you have it as it went out?
It's funny because I kind of expected the match to go the way it did, because with Goldberg, like you said, you can't do a lot. But if I had to book the match, I would have given it 10 minutes at least. It's difficult to say, because how do you handle Goldberg, especially with Braun Strowman being such a big guy? Like, you want Strowman to kind of dominate Goldberg, but also on the other side, Goldberg is a dominating force in a match. So it's difficult to say, but I would have given it 10 minutes at least, so that it would have been a bit more competitive, because you do 4 spears and then you do a few power slams and Braun Strowman won. It's not that convincing enough. But yeah, I would have gone with 10 minutes at least, with them just hitting each other a bit, throw each other around in the ring a bit, and yeah, just have Braun Strowman win it a bit more convincingly. But hey, it is what it is. I'm happy that Braun Strowman is champion.
I think I'll swing to Saudiq now for this point. And I think this is a point a lot of fans won't recognize, is that we've had Braun Strowman beat Goldberg in what was, I think, just under 4 minutes, or around the 4-minute mark. But Goldberg beat The Fiend relatively quicker, I think around 2 minutes and something. Does it make sense, Saudiq, for Braun Strowman to sort of knock out Goldberg as quick as he did? Because technically that means Goldberg, or at least Braun Strowman, could beat The Fiend, although we know that that's not exactly true.
Imagine Rock versus Austin. Austin being the champ, and they just came up and just gave 3 stunners, 4 rock bottoms, and a people's elbow, 2 of those, and you know, it won't. The championship is not gonna have like that prestige that it has, like especially the Universal Championship. It needs, like, look at the people who held it like for the few months that like let's pause. It's Goldberg, it was the Fiend, it was it Rollins? Yeah, Rollins. It's like it's not. There hasn't been a champion to lift that belt like to the prestige that they think it is. Goldberg or Braun Strowman needed to beat Goldberg because Goldberg wouldn't have. I mean, let's be honest, he wasn't going to be stick around. And I think we just like got tired of the old Goldberg matches because all he did do is just come out with the SmackDown bars full and then just press that L2 button the whole time. So I mean, we all got sick of. Like, okay, in short, I'm happy for Braun Strowman, but yeah, it's gonna mean nothing. Yeah, and it's quite sad for Braun Strowman because like he deserves it, but not like in this fashion. So.
Okay, just bringing up what Saudiq said about Braun Strowman, the fact that it was a pretty random replacement and it actually could have been anyone, and knowing how we all feel about Braun Strowman and how his journey's been something like this, where every time you thought he was going to win the championship, he does win the championship. Knowing that, who would have been a better fit to win the championship in the same situation? What do you think, Stu? Who would you put in that position? Who didn't really need the sort of build-up? Because we know Braun Strowman's build-up's been less than spectacular. But if we were going to take the title off Goldberg, who would you put in that match to win the match instead of Braun Strowman?
It's so difficult. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody because I know the people I would like to have rather had in that position, guys who have actually worked damn hard over the years and maybe deserve that spot. Guys like Corbin, hell, I'd even go as far as to say guys like Elias, guys who've just been working so damn hard to get points. It would be great to put in that position, but from more of a kayfabe sense of things, I don't know. I think Braun is probably your more viable start to have in that position, just because of the way he's built up and the way he looks and everything. Is probably he is the most viable that I can think of.
Marnus, who would you put in that spot if it wasn't Braun Strowman?
I would have gone for Elias, right? Because I think Elias is a very unique character. We've all seen him do the whole guitar thing, but it still gets over with the crowd somehow because he just has that thing, that uniqueness to him that he still gets over with the crowd, whether he's a face or a heel, it doesn't matter. And yeah, he's a very, very hard worker. You can see he's very in it all the time. So I would definitely have gone with Elias.
Okay, cool. And the main event on night 1 was a cinematic match. We spoke about this briefly before we started recording. AJ Styles being buried alive by Undertaker. Marnus, I just want to get your opinion again on what you thought of that match.
I thought it was fantastic, really. You know, I watched a lot of Lucha Underground at some stage, and they love to do the whole cinematic thing. So I always thought it was something unique. Not that it will get over with all the casual WWE fans like instantly, but I think that once everyone saw it and how it played out, especially with 2 big names like The Undertaker and AJ Styles, I think people really loved it, especially because of the cinematic feel it had, the environment and the setting that they went for. Undertaker being the American badass, you know, he entered the match on his bike with a Metallica song. It was absolutely bonkers. Awesome. So, yeah, having Carl Anderson and
Luke Gallows,
the other guy, yeah, Luke Gallows involved, that was cool because it kind of was this big redemption thing for Undertaker, AJ Styles throughout the match kept asking Undertaker, "Who are you? You're an old man. What are you still doing here?" And Undertaker just came back and he completely whipped AJ Styles' ass just to show who he still is. You know, he's still the fucking Undertaker. Sorry, you have to censor that. But yeah, I thought it was an absolutely fantastic match. I don't care what everyone says. That is what wrestling is about. And yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Stuart, is there a place for that sort of match more often than just WrestleMania? Could you see a match like that happening on a Raw or SmackDown or a Backlash even?
Well, I mean, funny you say that. A lot of people kind of forget the things that the New Day did with the Wyatt family. Remember at the Wyatt compound, that was also a cinematic type thing. It probably didn't get across as well as what this one did, or even the Firefly Funhouse did, but it was still something pretty cool to watch from my point of view. The only problem that, and I've been thinking about this quite a bit, only problem where it kind of might run into a brick wall is when you pre-recording the stuff and now you're showing it in front of a live audience in a crowd, with the crowd there. They might not necessarily appreciate it as much. Don't forget a few years ago, that whole, what was even called, the whole thing with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, that fell flat completely. That House of Horrors match or whatever it was, that fell, the live audience, it fell completely flat. So it's a really difficult one, but it is something as a fan that I would like to see more of, especially when you just remember that it is an entertainment business. It is about the entertainment, and you don't have to always be so nitty about things. So I'd love to see more of it.
Your match of the night, which one was that for? For night one, what was your match of the night?
So let's put it this way. From a cinematic production point of view, definitely the Boneyard match. But in-ring match would have to be the triple threat better match.
Okay, Marnus, what's your match of the night from night one?
Yeah, I'm definitely going with the ladder match as well. That is just my type of thing always. I've always been a fan of the whole ladder high flying thing. That is how I'm wired. So yeah, seeing John Morrison back in his prime, doing the stuff that he does, incorporating his whole parkour thing. Kofi Kingston, you always know he will deliver in that type of match, and I thought Jimmy Uso was a great addition to the match, so yeah, definitely the ladder match.
Saudiq, what was your match of the night?
The same with these guys. Props to Kevin Owens and Rollins as well, also a good match. But the ladder match, like the biggest regret was not being in front of that 80,000 people.
Yeah.
They would have blown the roof off that place. And as far as the Boneyard, that is something that I said in the last podcast. Like WWE needed to do something cinematic, just something different. And I'm glad that Boneyard and then Undertaker and AJ Styles did that type of match, because a normal match wouldn't have worked. Undertaker needs to keep doing these matches like once a year, just to keep it like him coming back, like the Undertaker cinematic universe.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't mind. I honestly wouldn't mind any future Undertaker matches in that sort of environment, or if he's in a tag team to sort of like hide the fact that he's not as good as he used to be. And I'm kind of hoping that we would get a sort of Undertaker versus Sting match in that same sort of cinematic style. I don't know what you guys think, but like I can see that working in place of an in-ring match. So, because I mean, both of them can't wrestle the same way. I did enjoy the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. I really did. But I think my match of the night personally was Owens versus Rollins. I liked the sort of false finish with Rollins winning by DQ, and then I liked the sort of journey through the match. There was very good. I think Stuart also mentioned it when we spoke about it. There was very good storytelling through the match in that the false finish actually helped the match. It wouldn't have felt the same if it wasn't there. And I felt as though they both brought it. and in a sort of environment where there were no fans, they kept the action going consistently, and especially with all the trash talking, it just sort of like, yeah, I think that was really my match of the night.
Another thing also with on that point, like all the matches couldn't have like rest periods. Otherwise, it would have just been so awkward. Because normally with a crowd, then the sound is like, you can still like hear the crowd clapping and all that stuff. But now it felt so awkward every time they tried to do a race move. So props to those guys as well, because they killed it.
They should have just maybe like CGI in the crowd or something like that. I think they're so good at doing those floating AR sort of things. They could have just, I don't know, put a random crowd there, and I would have been almost okay with the fact that they could have just used some canned crowd noises if they had the CGI.
Or like the old PlayStation 2 cardboard crowd.
with a recorded SmackDown, that SmackDown crowd noise.
Yeah.
The
hair dryer.
Okay, cool. So night 1, I think we can all agree, was the better night. Night 2 had perhaps some of the most boring matches on the card. I did manage to see Liv Morgan versus Natalya after WrestleMania, and it was good. She won a match. But let's touch on the very important ones, and that's primarily the NXT Women's Championship. Edge versus Randy Orton, which I think we've got a lot to talk about. And then I think the SmackDown Women's Championship match was really good. And then, of course, the WWE Championship. Let's maybe start with the SmackDown Women's Championship. I felt it was a really good match. I don't know. I felt like it was a really strong match with a lot of storytelling. And dare I say it, I felt like Tamina coming in, I think we mentioned in the last podcast, I thought she was going to win. And it turns out she was there for exactly what I thought she was going to be there for. Well, the opposite of what I thought, at least, in that she was sort of like filler, and she was the first to go, and I should have expected that as well. But at almost 20 minutes, that match was hella good. What do you guys think? Marnus, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they had the correct participants for that type of match. With Tamina, it's sad actually, because they did with her that they usually do with the bigger people, like with Nia Jax, Big Show, Mark Henry. They will always be the guys that are targeted first, then they will have the big power moment, and then they are eliminated. It's been done so many times, so that's what I expected they will do with Tamina, which is sad because I think Tamina does have a lot of potential. Lacey Evans and Naomi, they are always great. They always deliver. I was kind of hoping to see a bit more between Bayley and Sasha. There was something at least, but yeah, I'm actually happy with the decision that they made. Maybe Lacey Evans would have been a good choice, but they definitely have bigger plans for Bayley and Sasha Banks, and I'm excited to see it.
I think what I'm more surprised by is I'm actually quite surprised that Bayley retained. I thought that they were going to go the Sasha Banks way, some sort of betrayal or whatever. I thought maybe they could have given Lacey Evans a strap. But what I am happy about is I do like Bayley's character progression. Like, I think she's a phenomenal heel. Like, I think she's, dare I say, better than face Bayley, because she's. I don't think we saw this. I don't think we expected this out of Bayley, in that she's very easy to dislike, and she's somehow stronger on the mic as a heel. That being said, there was another women's championship match, the NXT Women's Championship match. Yeah, I think we all know how we feel about this. I think I'm going to throw it to Stu. Rhea Ripley losing the NXT Women's Championship to a non-NXT competitor who is not moving to NXT.
Yeah, so in my initial notes for it, I'd written down that it's not such a bad thing, because Charlotte, I thought, was moving to NXT after this, and that would keep her off of the main shows, Raw and SmackDown, and that would allow somebody else to step up in that position. But now you hear that she's actually still on Raw, which makes no sense at all, in case that that victory actually means 0. I'm unhappy with it. I'm unhappy with it. Rhea Ripley would have been a much better choice just to hold onto the strap, and then she looks even better carrying on her stories and carrying on her progression in NXT.
Mm-hmm. I think the bigger question is, and it's the same sort of like thing with regards to Becky and Shayna, who's also on Raw. So Raw basically has 2 women's championships, but it's the same thing. WrestleMania is ideally the end of everyone's storylines, and then we sort of reset, right? I think that's how we normally have WrestleMania happen, and maybe it spills over into Backlash, but that's no longer a thing for now, at least. What happens to Rhea Ripley like afterwards? Like, I don't understand the sort of like logic behind that build up with Charlotte winning the Rumble, and then Charlotte winning the championship. That should be the end of the story. That's the way I see it. And then you kind of question like, well, where does Rhea go from here? Like, Saudiq, if you were Vince and if you were Paul Heyman booking Raw, or in this case also if you were Triple H booking NXT, how do you use Rhea Ripley like moving forward?
Who said Charlotte wasn't going to NXT? Was
So,
it
It
reported?
was reported.
Was reported and on WWE.com, she is still under the Raw Superstar section with the NXT Championship.
No, but that wouldn't
she
make
will
sense
still
if.
compete on NXT.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, she'll still appear on NXT, but now
Yeah.
the question is what does Rhea do? Does it make sense for her to go back off the championship since there's no more rematches? How would you put the whole thing?
I think
What happened to Saudiq? I think I'll just hit us
If I
yeah,
if I can quickly add, I don't know if you guys saw there's a match booked or confirmed a women's NXT #1 contenders ladder match. I don't know if you guys saw it.
yes,
And Rhea Ripley is not part of that match, so it's to your point. What are they gonna do with Rhea Ripley? So yeah.
Yeah, I think we just lost Saudiq, but it's okay. I think we'll continue until he gets back online. Stuart, what do you think? What do you think should happen next for both Charlotte? I think that's one thing we didn't really mention or point out is that Marnus is correct in saying that there is a #1 contenders NXT Women's Championship ladder match. It's either this week or next week. I think it might be this week. What do you do for both shows?
Okay, so it's a bit difficult for me to kind of book Raw just because I don't follow Raw that well enough to kind of say, okay, this is what Charlotte's going to be doing in the meantime on Raw. From an NXT point of view, I think Rhea Ripley would have a strong point to get back into that title picture. And even though she's not in the current contendership match, she could maybe vie for herself where she creates a story where she maybe gets an opportunity to be now a part of that championship match. So what I do is have that triple threat match. Whoever wins becomes contender, and then Rhea Ripley can maybe face that superstar to maybe turn it into a triple threat match whenever that title match is going to take place. Essentially, that's the first thing that kind of comes to my mind.
Okay, Saudiq said his battery died. I think we want to just hit pause and we'll just resume as soon as he's back on. Okay, cool. We got some. That was very.
welcome back.
Welcome, Saudiq. We just wrapped up our sort of feedback on our opinions on the NXT Women's Championship match. I think I want to save Edge versus Randy Orton for last, so we can jump into the Firefly Funhouse. I don't think we expected anything like that. I don't think we expected anything like that. I think I'm still reeling from that whole match. Manus, what did you think?
Yo, What can you say about that match? No one would have ever expected the match to go down like that. Don't think they could have done it any better for the type of character of the Fiend. I mean, it was completely crazy, all the stuff that happened in that match. I really don't know what to say about the match. I really enjoyed it. And I have to give props to John Cena, the way he played out his character in that match. I think it was fantastic. That the 80s wrestling scene that they did with John Cena with the weights,
Yeah.
it was absolutely hilarious. And big props to that match. They have big balls to pull off something like that in today's age of wrestling. And they completely pulled it off. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think we were expecting something along the lines of. I honestly thought it was going to be the Firefly Funhouse set, and then just them brawling out there, or having the match in there. We knew it was going to be cinematic in some way, but they really just took it to another level. And I honestly didn't expect them to go the sort of like surrealism route. Like, there was no rhyme or reason that would be a real world setting, and I think we always talk about how when you're watching wrestling, you should sort of like suspend your disbelief. Like, you should kind of just, have an open mind about what you're watching. Like, there's I don't know if you've seen that video, Wrestling Isn't Wrestling. Or if you haven't, I'll also just drop it in the link also. Basically explains that wrestling isn't real because none of the characters are real, and there's no such thing as a demon wizard who can just appear out of nowhere. And then for the Firefly Funhouse match, it was a case where none of this is real at all. And I think that's what made it really amazing. And I watched that match and I thought to myself, yes, it's fucking sorry. It's really cool. It's really cool to be a WWE fan right now. Like, that was just unreal. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know. Like, Stuart, like, what was your favorite moment of that match, at least?
It's so difficult to say for sure, but probably the one that stood out the most was actually that final moment where you heard the echoes of a promo John Cena did before, and then they end it kind of with Bray Wyatt hitting the Sister Abigail and then finishing it there. I think that was a really significant moment and probably the one that stands out the most. But everything from top to bottom was just so well done, so perfectly done, and I enjoyed it. I admit, the very beginning of it, where John Cena started making his entrance, I was like, hang on, what the hell are they actually doing with this? Because I was expecting something completely different, and then they took you to the Firefly Funhouse, which, as I said, well done. They just top notch. They did an awesome job.
Saudiq, what are your thoughts?
This was my highlight of the weekend. I actually enjoyed it much more than the Boneyard match. This was just everything that, I'm big The Fiend guy, so I really loved it from the beginning till the end. Like, every little references, like even when Bray was standing in the ring saying the Kurt Angle speech about ruthless aggression, and then John Cena kept on whooping, and then Bray Wyatt was like, "You can look, but you can't touch." That was like that Nikki Bella reference. Like, what? Like,
I laughed
from
so
that was just.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. I just loved it so much. And then just shows you how brilliant Bray Wyatt is if you give them if you give him, let him just be creative, and then he'll come up with that. And then, like Stu said, that finishing sequence when the Fiend is gonna give Sister Abigail, it was just awesome. And then Bray going back to the original Bray sitting in the chair, that was also awesome to see again.
All the callbacks really cool. All the callbacks were cool.
Every single thing. And then props again to John Cena for just going along with it. And then I think they should have had John Cena lay in the middle of the ring like this. If like they could have told the story about all of this happening in his mind, and there was actually a match happening, and it just got defeated. But I don't know. I, I don't know where John Cena goes off now, because I mean he's dead. John Cena's dead.
He and AJ Styles are dead. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's just quickly move on before we make this video too long. I've actually got a stopwatch running, and I'm gonna start the stopwatch at 4 minutes and 5 seconds, because that's how long the WWE Championship match was. Keep in mind, two able-bodied superstars who have put on 25-minute matches. We'll start the conversation in 4 minutes 35 seconds. We cannot go longer with this match. Marnus, give me your thoughts now.
Yeah, like I said with the Goldberg match, I expected this from the Brock Lesnar match. Also, I expected it to be this hard-hitting, impactful F5s here, Claymore kicks there match. That's 100% what I expected, and that is what we got. Whatever. I'm not gonna complain about it because I expected it to be. I would have hoped it to be a much better match, actually more raw wrestling. But
could it have gone longer? Do you think it could have gone longer than 4 minutes and 35 seconds? Like,
definitely more. It could have been a 15-minute match. I think Brock Lesnar has it in him to go much longer than 4 minutes, but that's the type of booking we got. I don't know. But I enjoyed the match. It was good. I'm happy for Drew. He's finally champion. That's it.
Okay, cool. Stu?
Yeah, when you really think about it in hindsight, the match was no different than the Universal title match, because it was just two guys hitting a few moves, and then that was it. I didn't necessarily have a problem with it. The thing that stood out the most was the kick out at one from Drew McIntyre off the F5. That was probably the highlight of the match for me, apart from Drew winning. And there was nothing that really stood out for me. I think if they had gone with the same kind of booking as they had with Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg at WrestleMania a few years ago, then that would have been an excellent match to watch. But this wasn't that great.
Sorry.
Funny you would say that, Stu. I was actually hoping for like a Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg at Survivor Series, where Goldberg just squashed Brock Lesnar. I was hoping Drew would do that, like just out of the gate, just give him a Claymore kick, and then another two, and then just completely squash Brock. Then at least Brock has a vengeance to coming back again, because he got no offense in. But yeah, the old format of Brock Lesnar eating F5, it's and suplex. Yeah, it got tired. So I'm glad that Brock Lesnar or Goldberg is champion. So yeah, the right people won.
Yeah, with 2 minutes to go, before we actually start getting longer in this match, I think that the positives coming out of those two matches, the two World Championship matches, that we've got superstars who are not part-timers. I can't believe we went through a period of time where we had two part-time world champions, and because we had part-time world champions, we weren't guaranteed long matches. And Marnus said that Brock Lesnar can go 20-30 minutes, and that match against Drew McIntyre could have been that. I'm okay with having a Claymore party or a Suplex City and the match is over in like a couple of minutes. But if we know that those competitors are able to sort of like, go the distance, then why not? Like, I feel like short matches like that, they can be done from time to time, but with both world championships on the biggest show of the year, or in the smallest arena this year at least, I just didn't feel it right, and I feel like it actually damaged the prestige of both champions. But at least moving forward, we can kind of see that we have Drew McIntyre as WWE champion and Braun Strowman as Universal champion, and then hopefully we can have longer matches out of those competitors. But the way we know WWE and Vince McMahon, Brock Lesnar hasn't had his last reign, guys. He just hasn't. I think what he's there for is he is there to put over superstars. I think he's good at that, especially now with the Drew McIntyre match. I think we need to give him credit where credit is due. That sort of thing helps. But we know that come Survivor Series or come Royal Rumble, the dude is winning the championship again. You'll have a 4-month reign, and then you'll sort of like give someone the rub at WrestleMania.
I'm just glad that
Yeah.
sorry, just a side note. I'm just glad Drew won the Royal Rumble and he went on lost the main event of WrestleMania. So I'm glad they stick to that format.
Yeah.
So that's how it's supposed to be.
That's how it should be. I think we went to the last podcast also where like it shouldn't be second to last. It shouldn't be which WrestleMania was it was Sheamus, I think, eh? Sheamus won that year, 2010?
13.
13.
13, I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah,
And
he opened WrestleMania in a
Daniel Bryan
7-second match, right? 7-second match.
18 seconds.
Seconds, yeah, no, like that. I can appreciate matches that are short for that reason. If the booking's done right, then whatever. But a Rumble winner should not be opening the show. They won the Royal Rumble, earned that right to main event WrestleMania. Unfortunately, of course, we had Rock Cena that year, which is a massive match. But yeah, at least second to last then. Last match, and I think we're gonna have a long podcast. It's gonna be 50 minutes now, but I think we're gonna have a lot to say about Edge versus Orton. I will. Yeah, let me first say what I thought about the match.
Wait, I'll say it because it's the shortest. Because I don't want to go as long because that match is probably still going on.
So
you guys are gonna hate me, but I really did not enjoy this match at all. I like the first of all, they went to each little location and they did the same exact thing, punch, grunt. They could have cut out at least 20 minutes and would have still, they could have gone from the ring with that RKO and then jump cut to the ending sequence on the truck. It would have been perfectly fine. They just dragged on. And then worse, I think everyone can agree upon this. The commentary killed the match even further.
Sure.
Yeah.
So go ahead. That's all that I have to say. I hated it.
I think you pointed out all the things that I wanted to point out. But I think yes, at 36 minutes, 36 minutes and 35 seconds, this match was way too long. And I think what surprised me the most was Edge could still go. I mean, yes, it was a last man standing match, but I honestly thought he was going to be gassed out or he wasn't going to sort of go on for that long. Kudos to Edge, really. But all the things that you pointed out, Saudiq, that was real concerns. I don't understand how we go on for so long and repeat spot after spot. I think people on Twitter and on Reddit were calling it a WWE Performance Center tour match and not a last man standing match. And it kind of felt like that. And when it gets to the point where people are starting to point out, oh shit, isn't that where Goldberg walked out of from his last match and not actually investing themselves into the match, then it just feels like I don't know. Then you mentioned the commentary as well, in that we know that Tom Phillips is an amazing commentator. He is really, really good. And Byron Phillips is also really good. So what the fuck happened?
Is Byron Saxton that good that you that bad that you forgot his surname?
You said Byron Phillips, Brandon. Blooper reel.
Was so bad. Minus one. Minus, what do you think, Owen?
Okay, here's my thing. My favorite stipulation match of all time has always been the last man standing match. When the last man standing match is on, the little wrestling kid in me comes out. I just absolutely love the last man standing match stipulation. So I'm not saying that this was the best last man standing match ever, because it was very repetitive. It went on for way too long. But I have to say, with what I had to do in the Performance Center itself, they delivered on that note. kudos to Edge. Yo, that guy can still go. It's amazing. Like, Edge was at one point my favorite wrestler of all time, so it was great to see him back. The things he did. The storytelling was nice. I think Randy Orton selling was outstanding in this match. And it's 50-50 for me. I kind of didn't like it, and I kind of did like it because it was a last standing match, but it is what it is.
Okay. Cool. Stuart.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the matchup itself, but it did go on way too long. There was a lot that could have been cut, could have been edited out. Like, I mean, what in the hell was that whole crotch thing that Edge did in the gym? It didn't even need to be in there. And the fact that they pre-recorded it as well, there's no excuse for having so much of it when there was so much that just didn't need to be in there. They could have edited a lot in it. Even in the final moments on the track, there was actually no need to flip and well have Randy Orton go up and down on the track just to get weapons and all that. Just flip and edit it in. It definitely went on too long. Overall, as I say, I didn't actually have a problem with it. There was just a lot that could have been cut from it. Something that I noticed in that matchup, especially in the closer, was that Edge, I think, seems to be transitioning into a new finisher with that sleep hold type finisher. I know Tom Phillips especially made note of it, how he used it before, and I think that's especially because they want to try avoid getting Edge to use the spear too much, where it could pose a risk to his health and well-being. Rather kind of use the spear as a special move, just where he uses it here and there, maybe, and then that new finisher is much safer, much better to use. But I like to see Edge back. It was great to see Edge back. It's just a pity that it happened the way it did in front of nobody and going overly long.
A match like that. Sorry, Brandon. I just want to add on what Stu said. A match like that needs to have like spots in between. There was like absolutely no spots that like it. You're supposed to be taking spot until the next spot. That just had literal spots. They went from the gym. They went to the boardroom. They went to the like. They needed something big, and then. I agree with Stu. Is like, what the hell was that crotch? That crotch jump. It just looked awkward. I mean, it was a Randy Orton match as Randy Orton could be, like the most Randy Orton match ever. So it was slow, methodical, a bit too slow, and then
I think back in the day we had those VHSs, and there always used to be a special event. I know In Your House did this. In Your House, they taped an In Your House event, and where the show had a select number of matches, when the VHS came out, it had extra matches. If this was 1994, that Edge and Orton match is the extra match on the wouldn't be sitting through a whole show watching a 36-minute match. And I love Edge, and I love Orton. I think Orton's heel run for this year was amazing. Like, he was, I think I mentioned it when they had the whole angle with Beth Phoenix and that. Only Randy Orton could rationalize giving someone a concerto and saying, like, I actually love Edge and I'm doing it for your family. So, best piece of writing in a long time. But a 36-minute match with the same spots over and over. I am going to go out on a limb and say that the SmackDown Women's Championship match was way better than Edge vs. Orton. And I think we were all looking forward to Edge Orton. And I think our expectations were also quite high. But yeah, that is night 2. My match of the night was definitely... Yeah, it was definitely the Firefly Funhouse. Marnus, what was the match of the night?
Firefly Funhouse, definitely.
Stu?
Yeah, Firefly Funhouse. And a very close second, probably the NXT Women's Championship match for me.
Saudiq?
Obviously, the Firefly finals, that was my highlight. But as far as the wrestling goes, that Rhea Charlotte match was fantastic.
It's fantastic, yeah.
Mm.
And now, to sort of just get at least everyone's idea as to what they would score WrestleMania this year, I'll start. I think, given everything that's going on, I feel like we actually had a good Mania, and maybe it was helped by the fact there were 2 nights and you can kind of like rest through it, you know. I think it was a good Mania. It wasn't the best because I think we were really missing the crowd, we were missing the pyro, we were missing the elaborate entrances and the sets. But I think all things considered, the fact in that we are just currently going through a weird period, I'm gonna give WrestleMania a 6. Let's start with Marnus. What would you score WrestleMania this year?
Yeah, look, with what I had to do, and especially the big thing for me was the creativity that went into some of the matches. So for that reason alone, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10.
Okay, Saudiq? What would you score WrestleMania?
I love this format. They should continue going on if it continues. Like the 2-night format was awesome. It's a pity that we didn't get a NXT takeover. But yeah, I give this a 7. A 7. I think it's fair because I mean there was so much unnecessary crap that you know didn't need to be on the show. Corbin, Elias, and then Black versus Bobby Lashley. I don't know why the hell was that a WrestleMania match. And then if you cut down Orton and Edge's match, then you save 2 hours. So I mean, it could have been 1 night, but this 2-match format is awesome. And then if it wasn't for like the circumstances, we wouldn't have gotten a boneyard match and the fantastic Firefly final. So I give it a 7. A 7 is a great score.
Oh, what do you give WrestleMania?
Yeah. I won't lie, going into WrestleMania, I was highly expecting, forget about what was on the card, I was highly expecting people to consider it the worst Mania ever, just because of the fact you had missing pieces, you had no pyro, you had no crowd. There were missing aspects of Mania this year, but it far exceeded expectations to me.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't really too many ludicrous decisions made on the show. And I think for what they had, they pulled off a really great event. And also, as Saudiq said, the 2-night event actually works really, really well. They kept it at 3 hours apiece, which is great. So 7 for me. I'd rate it.
Cool. Just before we wrap up, our next pay-per-view is maybe, because we don't know what's going to happen, it's going to be Money in the Bank on May 10th. We'll do a proper sort of prediction before that pay-per-view, if it happens. But I think I just wanted to get you guys' opinion on who would you give the Money in the Bank ladder matches to? Marnus, which woman and which male would you give the contract to?
Well, from the top of my head, for the male, I definitely go with Ricochet. I think I said in the previous podcast, the next guy I would like to see in the title picture is definitely Ricochet. And I mean, put Ricochet in a ladder match with this type of fighting style, you have gold. So for the males, I will definitely give it to Ricochet. From the female side, it's difficult. I kind of would love to see Naomi perform in a ladder match because of her type of fighting style. I know I say this a lot, but I just love the high-flying ladder type of stuff. So for the females, I will give it to Naomi.
I think I'll quickly, before I hand over to everyone else, I think for me, the way I kind of see it going on, this is my pick. For the women's side, I kind of see Sasha Banks winning the Money in the Bank ladder match to sort of set up any sort of feud between her and Bailey, and I would imagine that would take place at SummerSlam. Then I think on the male side, I am really just giving it a shot in the dark, but like I would like to see someone from NXT actually win the match, so we can kind of get someone hop over to the main roster. But that's a good reason for someone to bounce over to the main roster. I would honestly like to see an NXT superstar win the match and actually challenge for the NXT championship, or jump over to the main roster. And I think I want Johnny Gargano to win that match, if we are including NXT superstars, but I think we will. Stuart, who's your picks?
Straight off the bat, from the male side, I'd love to see Elias win that one. I think he can do wonders with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he, from a character perspective, I don't see him cashing in straight away. He'd kind of let it ride out. And what's great about him as well is that he can run with any stories in the interim. He can actually hold on to that briefcase for a very long time because he's that great at telling a story at any given moment. So I'd go with Elias for men's. And from the female side, I would really like to see either Dana Brooke or Ruby Riott win that Money in the Bank, just because those are two superstars that I believe has tremendous talent that just has been used like absolute trash since being on the main roster, and I'd like to see so much more from them. But overall, no matter who wins the Money in the Bank, I just want to see, it's been years since we've seen a proper Money in the Bank run, so whoever ends up winning it, please just give us a proper story with it.
Saudiq, who was your picks?
That Ruby Riott that was actually a great choice. I'm actually leaning towards a Sonya Deville. I would really love her to like, because she wasn't showcased pretty much. She was always in Mandy Rose's shadow or like a backup. But I think she would be a great pick. And then for the men's side, I would really love Aleister Black to be given the stage to take on Drew and then hopefully like cash it in on Drew. So those are my choosing.
Okay, cool. I think that's it. I think WrestleMania is in the books. Good show all around. I think we are in for a very weird couple of months now for WWE, and it's going to get weirder, I think, until we actually know for sure where things are going to go. But I think we'll leave it at that. Guys, you can follow Marnus on Geek in Afrikaans. We'll drop a link in the description below. Stuart over on Crazy Pro Wrestling, and Saudiq is just on Instagram or wherever. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.